In the 1940s, there was a bridge people didn't cross casually. They slowed down before it. They went silent on it. And at night, some refused to cross it at all. Not because it was famous. Not because it was beautiful. But because people knew what it could do. One wrong move. One skid. 1 second of bad visibility. And the bridge took you. This is the story of the deadliest bridge of the 1940s. A structure that turned ordinary travel into a gamble, and why so many people never made it to the other side. The 1940s were years of pressure. War reshaped everything. Factories ran day and night. Military convoys filled the roads. Civilian travel increased under strain. But America's infrastructure wasn't ready. Many bridges in the 1940s were built decades earlier, designed for lighter vehicles, narrow and unforgiving, poorly lit. They were never meant to handle constant traffic, heavy loads, and exhausted drivers. And yet, they were forced to. The deadliest bridge of the 1940s wasn't dangerous for one single reason. It was dangerous because everything went wrong at once. It was too narrow for two modern vehicles to pass safely, lacking proper guardrails, built high above fast-moving water, poorly illuminated, especially at night, often slick from rain, fog, or ice. On paper, it was functional. In reality, it was a trap. Nighttime changed everything. Headlights in the 1940s were weak and uneven. Fog blurred depth perception. Rain turned steel and concrete into glass. Drivers couldn't see the edge of the bridge clearly. They couldn't judge distance accurately. They couldn't correct mistakes quickly. And the bridge didn't allow mistakes. There was no shoulder. No safe pull-off. No second chance. Despite the danger, people still crossed. Why? Because there was no alternative. The bridge connected work routes, supply lines, entire communities. Avoiding it meant hours of detours, something wartime life didn't allow. So people crossed it afraid. And fear makes humans tense. Tense hands overcorrect. Tense minds hesitate. And hesitation on a narrow bridge can be fatal. Early accidents didn't make national headlines. They were quiet. A car skidded during rain. A truck clipped the railing. A vehicle went over the side and disappeared into darkness. By morning, the bridge looked normal again. But locals noticed the pattern. After enough incidents, people stopped calling it the bridge. They gave it nicknames. They warned their children about it. Truck drivers slowed miles before reaching it. Stories spread. Screeching tires. Headlights vanishing. Silence after impact. Some vehicles weren't found until days later. Some were never fully recovered. The bridge became known not for crossing, but for endings. What waited under the bridge mattered. Fast currents. Cold temperatures. Poor visibility. If a car went over. Doors jammed. Windows resisted. Escape time was measured in seconds. Rescue was slow. There were no rapid response teams. No instant communication. No surveillance. If someone went in, survival depended almost entirely on luck. During the war years, traffic increased dramatically. Military trucks. Supply convoys. Overloaded vehicles. The bridge shook under weight it was never designed to carry. Vibrations loosened surfaces. Metal fatigued. Small flaws became big risks. The bridge aged faster than anyone admitted. So why wasn't the bridge immediately fixed? Because the 1940s were about priorities. Resources went to the war. Materials were rationed. Infrastructure upgrades were delayed. Warnings were noted. Reports were filed. But action came slowly. And in that delay, more names were added to the bridge's history. People approaching the bridge felt it. Hands tightened. Breathing slowed. Eyes locked forward. Fear narrowed focus. And narrow focus on a narrow bridge is dangerous. Many accidents happened not because drivers were reckless, but because they were afraid. By the early 1940s, the bridge had already earned a reputation. But reputation alone doesn't make a place deadly. Patterns do. As wartime traffic increased, accidents didn't just happen occasionally, they began happening regularly. And that's when fear turned into certainty. Drivers started timing their crossings. Some waited for daylight. Some refused to cross during rain or fog. Others had no choice. The bridge was at its worst during 3 moments: late night, early morning, bad weather. Fog rolled in thick and sudden. Headlights reflected off wet steel and concrete. Depth perception collapsed. Drivers later said the same thing. "I thought I was still centered." They weren't. The bridge was narrow, and the margin for error was almost nothing. Cars in the 1940s were not forgiving machines. No power steering. No anti-lock brakes. No traction control. When tires lost grip, recovery required strength, timing, and luck. On a normal road, a skid could be corrected. On this bridge, a skid meant sliding sideways toward open air. There was no shoulder. No safety buffer. No forgiveness. As accidents increased, so did severity. Cars didn't just clip railings. They went over. Some struck the side, flipped, and vanished. Others broke through weakened barriers. Some simply slid off like they were never meant to stay. In many cases, witnesses heard a sharp sound, a brief scream of tires, then silence. The river below did the rest. Once a vehicle went over, survival odds dropped sharply. Cold water shocked the body. Darkness erased orientation. Pressure jammed doors instantly. Rescue teams faced major delays. No instant communication. Poor access to the riverbanks. Limited equipment. By the time help arrived, it was often too late. This is why the bridge gained its darkest reputation. Not because accidents happened, but because escape rarely did. Passenger cars weren't the only victims. Wartime supply trucks crossed the bridge constantly. Many were overloaded. Some were poorly maintained. Most were driven by exhausted drivers working long shifts. Heavy vehicles amplified every problem. Increased vibration. Worsened surface wear. Reduced maneuverability. When a truck lost control, the outcome was catastrophic. The bridge wasn't built for this. And everyone knew it. Engineers began noticing warning signs. Cracks, loosened joints, worn surfaces. But repairs were delayed. Steel was rationed. Funds were diverted. The war came first. So the bridge remained in use, danger and all. And each crossing became a risk calculation. Fear didn't stop traffic. Necessity overruled it. Workers had shifts to reach. Supplies had deadlines. Communities depended on the crossing. People told themselves, "It won't happen to me." That belief kept the bridge alive. And the bridge kept proving it wrong. Eventually, accidents stopped being local news. They became regional stories. Too many deaths. Too many disappearances. Too many unanswered questions. The bridge wasn't just dangerous. It was predictable. And predictability changed everything. By the later 1940s, officials faced a hard truth. The bridge wasn't unlucky. It was unsafe. Reports stacked up. Complaints grew louder. Public pressure increased. The bridge had become a liability. Eventually, steps were taken. Improved lighting. Warning signs. Reduced speed advisories. But none of these fixed the core problem. The bridge's design itself was outdated. And no sign could compensate for that. The last serious accidents were the hardest. because by then, everyone knew the risk. Drivers slowed. Authorities warned. Still, the bridge claimed more lives. These weren't careless crossings. They were ordinary people trapped by bad infrastructure and bad timing. Even after improvements, fear lingered. Locals remembered. Truckers talked. Parents warned their children. The bridge had entered memory. And memory is harder to repair than steel. The deadliest bridge of the 1940s isn't remembered just for accidents. It's remembered for what it revealed. Infrastructure can fail silently. Progress can outpace safety. Ordinary places can become lethal. The bridge wasn't evil. It was neglected. The bridge forced change. It contributed to better safety standards, improved lighting, stronger guardrails, modern bridge design principles. Its legacy isn't just tragedy. It's prevention. The deadliest bridge of the 1940s didn't kill people because they were reckless. It killed them because the world changed faster than the bridge did. Cars became heavier. Traffic became constant. Life became rushed. The bridge stayed the same. In the 1940s, this bridge stood as a test of trust. People trusted it with their lives. And sometimes it failed them. Today, we remember it not to fear bridges, but to remember what happens when safety is postponed, warnings are ignored, and ordinary crossings become extraordinary risks. Because the most dangerous bridges aren't the ones that collapse. They're the ones that stay standing long enough to be underestimated.